All right. So today we have Tony, who is my cousin, on the podcast. Welcome, Tony.
Hello, thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. So Tony has a really incredible story, um, and I can't wait to hear it. So, Tony, where are you at now? What do you do?
So, I'm still a firefighter. I'm pretty much single. I'm separated from my wife,
Mm,
and I'm happy. And
that's amazing.
that's the incredible part. Um, but I've had a pretty rough journey, so it's kind of fun to talk about. Actually, this will be the first time I've talked about it, but I've been
I'm
wanting to
excited.
for a while.
I feel very, very special that I get to capture this the first time.
Yeah. So,
So, do you want to start with the separation or do you want to start before that since the separation kind
well,
of came up?
they coincide enough that let's just talk about it all together.
Let's do it.
Uh, all right. So I've been a firefighter for 18 years now, professional firefighter for 18 years. I was volunteer before that. So I'm now at year 24 total in the fire service. Um, as you can imagine, being a firefighter, I get to see some amazing, awesome, cool, wonderful things. Unfortunate side of that is that I also have to sometimes see the ugly side of the world. Um, so I have in my career seen dead children, severely injured children. I've come on scene to find people that I've known most of my life passed away from a tragic accident. Um, those kind of things. And some firefighters are just fine. They, or at least they seem to be fine. Um, they move forward with it without having a big issue with it. Um, Unfortunately, I'm not one of those people. I have a big heart. Um, I really feel the loss, um, especially the children. And that big heart led me to develop post traumatic stress disorder. For anybody who doesn't know, post traumatic stress disorder is a overrun of the sympathetic nervous system. Basically, I have fight or flight that doesn't turn off. It just doesn't. Um, I'm. It, I had a friend kind of explain it to me one day, or try to describe it to me one day, so that we could kind of discuss things, how his symptoms were, and I completely agree with him. It's kind of like an air raid siren in your head that never shuts up. It's always going off. Um, so I developed this. Um, Nightmares, loss of sleep, always tired. Anyone who knows men get grumpy when they don't have sleep.
Yeah.
Um, and so slowly over time, I grew more grumpy. I slept a lot less, would distract myself with video games to try to not sleep. Um, and it had a negative effect on my marriage, as you would expect. Uh, I'm not going to go into blaming myself completely for it. That it takes two people to keep a marriage, and it takes two people to break it. Um, but yeah, that was an issue. It was undiagnosed. I thought that nightmares and reliving incidents was just all part of being a firefighter. So I didn't seek help. The normal classic male, I'll get over it someday. Um, that led, like I said, to some issues in my marriage that actually grew much bigger than just my PTSD. Um, and 3 years ago, she and I had the sit down talk of, are you happy in our marriage? And at that point, I was blissfully unaware of her unhappiness. And I was very happy with my marriage. But she was not. And as a man who has been married for 23 years and has wrapped his personality up completely in being a husband, being a father, I did everything possible to save my marriage. And 6 months later, we still had the I want a divorce talk. Luckily, she had a change of heart. We stayed together for an additional 2 years. Tried to work it out, and then when I went back into therapy because of the pandemic, I stopped therapy. I guess I should mention that. When I went back into therapy, some of the old anxieties and the old grumpiness came out of me. Mm-hmm. And it was too much for her to support me through. And so she moved on. Is I guess the nicest, safest way to say it.
Sure.
And that's the past, I guess is a good way to say it. That's where really my story of healing picks up. Mm-hmm. Is I'm alone doing therapy, really wanting to get healed this time, not just to deal with the symptoms, but to have full control of my life again.
Yeah.
And I was lonely. And funny thing is, that's something that I've kind of learned to enjoy. I'll explain that to you later, I promise.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it was incredible, some of the things I've been through in the last little while. And this last 6 months has been a roller coaster. So let's start off with the PTSD and how I dealt with that, because that's kind of important to some men out there. First, let me make sure that everybody's aware my PTSD is completely fire service related. It has kind of a different severity factor to it than a service related PTSD where you've killed people, mm-hmm. or a more civilian version of PTSD where you have been abused long term. Mm-hmm. So what I'm going to bring up may help you in your journey if you're suffering from PTSD. But go see a licensed professional. Don't just listen to me. This is a good starter map, but there may be some more work you may need to do. So the first thing, stigma. Men, if you've got a serious mental issue, like you can't sleep at night, or you're having suicidal ideation. I didn't have that, luckily, but I know people who have. I've lost brother firefighters to it. Seeking professional help, medical help, is important to your survival. It's not just a thing. It's, you need to do this. You need to go see a professional. At the very least, go see a doctor and get on a medication to help control your anxiety. I'm on a fairly high dose of a drug that is out there for, it's what they call an SSRI.
Serotonin blocker.
Yes, inhibitor. Reuptake inhibitor. Yeah. Selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. Mm-hmm. So, and that does help control the anxiety. It doesn't shut the air raid siren down, but it does make it more controllable. It gives the way I explained it to somebody is it gives me a chance, a pause to think before I act instead of reacting to stimulus. With PTSD, it's kind of an important thing because fight or flight, right? You're either going to attack what's coming at you or you're going to run from what's coming at you. And you don't want to do either. And that's something I've definitely learned in my life is you don't want to go straight at a stimulus, a stress stimulus. And yes, my fight or flight tends to go towards the fight side. So medication, therapy. I can't tell you how much therapy, and it's not just go and find a therapist and talk about things. You need to find a therapist that's going to make you work, man. I'm sorry. Sitting in the couch and talking is not enough, and it won't be enough. If you seriously want to heal, there are work to be done.
Mm-hmm.
My therapist got me doing all kinds of drills and journaling, which I had done, but not done with the right mindset. But yeah, absolutely. You've got to find not just a therapist, but the right therapist, somebody that's going to make you work, somebody that's going to push you, somebody that brings that inner competitive spirit that most men have out of you. And with that, you will heal, and you will heal much faster than if you were to go a different route. So I'm going to talk about two more very critical pieces of my therapy that I think aren't just helpful PTSD. I think they're very helpful to people in general for anything. I think they're just good habits at this point. One is self-esteem self-esteem building, confidence building, okay. Self-love. You can name it whatever you want. But I personally, my practice is that I have a list on my phone, a list of, and it started with 10 items that I absolutely love about myself. And I have since added a few, which is a good thing. Mm-hmm. That's always a good thing. But they're things that every man probably would put on his list, to be honest. I know I'm a good father. I'm an excellent father, and
you are a great father.
And I love that about myself. I've been a devoted husband for a long-term relationship, although I let my own mental health issues impact that relationship. I was devoted to my wife. I just was. I never spoke anything but good about her. And it's things like that that are on my list. And most men have those. Look at your job. I mean, there are people who don't like their job.
Yeah, and maybe don't show up for it, so aren't proud of how they do it.
Right. But I absolutely love what I do, and I'm good at it. And I'm a mentor and a teacher, and I do so many things outside of my job to impact the same community. And so I just have a lot to be proud of, and I always have. But the problem with PTSD is it takes that away from you. You quit thinking about that positive. You quit thinking about, hey, I've lived a life of service to others, and I really have. And, to have that taken away from your head and not realize, just flat out not realize that about yourself it's quite sad. to be honest.
Absolutely.
So by all means, my recommendation by far would be to do that, to open your notepad, write 10 things. And then once you've written those 10 things, go back and revisit it every night until you've got that stuff ingrained in your brain that this is worth loving. And that is absolutely true. The other side of that, and as Brandy knows, I'm also a Buddhist. Mindfulness meditation. I don't care who you are. Taking 5 minutes, 10 minutes to focus on an object or close your eyes and just focus on your breathing. And try to maintain that. Now, non-judgmentally try to maintain that because
Try.
yeah. The whole point of the exercise is practice and realizing that you're not perfect and you're going to have good days and bad days, but you can get there. And some days it'll be 20 seconds. I'm sorry, it just happens. You focus for 20 seconds and then off you're thinking about the future or the past.
But the good thing about it is also, if you only have 20 seconds, that's a tool that you can go to in any situation and utilize that just to get, I use it just when I'm overwhelmed or I'm frustrated or I'm, hungry, angry, lonely, tired, whatever. And it's, mindfulness meditation, just focusing on my breath. And if thoughts come, if I can let them go, let them happen and then let them go on their merry way.
Yep. Observe your thoughts, but don't let them consume you during your practice.
It's so powerful.
Yes, it is. And so I do that morning and night. But again, I'm Buddhist.
Yeah.
So that's kind of part of the practice.
Yes.
But by all means, even just like I said, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes at night, just so that you can get into your head. And in some ways, and I'll pass this on because it's good knowledge, is if you find yourself thinking about what happened in the past, that's a feeling you need to let go. That's depression. And if you find yourself thinking about the future, that's anxiety. And you need to let that go. But if you can focus on your breath in the moment, you've truly reached the moment. And that's where you want to live. I promise. It's really where you want to live. All right. Any more questions or any questions on PTSD? Because after this, I really want to get into the late life divorce.
Excuse me. So as far as therapy goes, did you find a specific therapist that specializes in PTSD? Like, do you feel like that's where you would be able to find the therapist that digs into the work? Or is that, no, there's still just talk therapy for PTSD?
Right. So the first therapist I had was a specialist for that kind of PTSD. Now, my recommendation is to find one of the big combined therapy groups, someone who they have a person for everybody. And you need to, if that therapist isn't for you, don't be afraid to say next.
Yep.
And say you're not quite getting me there, let's go to somebody else. Now, do the therapists have, some of the therapists have specific training for dealing with individuals with PTSD. And in fact, the therapist that I ended on, although not used to service related or first responder related PTSD, was a specialist for PTSD for women. And she's very good. But they do have the training. The biggest thing is to find somebody who has had the training, and that for men specifically, I think you need to find someone who's going to challenge you. I think you need to find that inner competitive drive to succeed.
That makes sense, because if you're going to heal it, you have to actually confront it, and
Right.
got to heal it and confront the actual the demons, or the things that live with you. You can't just stuff them down and
Yeah.
hope they go away.
And I will tell you that on my final path, I had emotions that were buried that I didn't even realize I had.
Mm.
Some blaming, some anger, that was not really out in the open until she made me journal in a very specific way.
Mm-hmm.
And she picked up on wording that I used and pulled from it.
That makes all the sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do have one more thing to talk about on PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
I'm recommending anybody who has PTSD and is having trouble with therapy. The VA is currently doing a study on what they call a stellate ganglion block. It is a normal pain clinic procedure that they do for neck pain. So it's pretty routine, very low risk, but the VA and overseas especially, they found that this turns the sirens off for a short time while you go through therapy, and help you deal with the emotions and learn how to be happy again. So I recommend looking into that, a stellate ganglion block, SGB. And I didn't get it, but I have a friend who did, and his wife says it was night and day different. So
Can I just ask, did you not get it because what you're doing is working and you are happy? Okay,
yes,
I just wanted to check.
That's why I didn't do it. I was actually actively looking into it when I finally heard the air sirens diminish in volume.
That's
and
amazing.
So they are still on, but they don't bug me anymore. I'm not dealing with that side of my life.
You're not fighting it.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
All right. So late life divorce in men. First off, men, if you want to keep your wife, don't listen to what she's telling you to do. Listen to what you need to do, and listen to me very carefully. If you are having trouble with your wife, the first thing you need to do is look in the mirror and think about what kind of man you are. Are you a man who is out achieving? Are you a man who's a worker? Are you hitting the gym and losing weight? Those things matter, even though she says they don't. She cares about the dishes. She does. And you, as a good life partner, should be carrying your half. Should have been this whole time. But what she really wants is a man who's confident. And the only way to get confident is to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I am a man. I am masculine. And I look it. So that's the biggest advice I can give to anybody, as a man. If you're having problems, yes, listen, understand that if you are not doing your share of the home, yeah, she has a right to be mad.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem. But taking care of yourself and
Right.
doing things to feel good about yourself and feeling like a man.
Right. And that's more important in my book. You should be doing your half, but I'll be honest and tell you, in that last 2 years, I was doing a lot more than that, and it wasn't saving anything.
Yeah.
So let's go back to that late life divorce. The the shock of being tied up again with a personality, with somebody your whole life is ingrained and enmeshed in that spouse, as your mother, as a mother, as a wife. um and it's really hard to disentangle what is you from what was the marriage. um the, the best thing you can do, and again, it's just like the PTSD, confidence building. Take a deep look at who you are and how you've lived your life. And I promise you, there is something about yourself that you can and should love. Um, and go through the list, make the list, look at the list daily. And it's funny that it overlapped because it was the perfect time to start that practice. And it overlapped perfectly. So that even though my wife was gone, my house was empty of that presence, I gained the confidence that no, it's not us anymore. It is just me, but I'm of value. I don't have to just be that. Um, and that's been a healthy part of this. Um, so there's that. I won't sit and pound it again too hard, but confidence building. Um, the next one's getting the let things be attitude. Men, and I know men love choices, so here's your choice: go study Buddhism. You don't have to have the faith. Go study it. Or, okay, you're Christian and you're happy with the faith you have. Go study Stoicism. Go learn from the Greeks. Either one is going to teach you how to let things go with you in your life. Just let them go. To understand that sometimes things are impermanent. They're going to change. And truthfully, nothing in your life is permanent. Not any relationship, not any item in your house. It could all go away tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you have to learn how to be okay with that and let it be and move through the chaos. Um, Realizing that we can sit and dwell on the loss of something, or we can move forward and take that next step. And it's much better to go ahead and take that, even if it's a baby step, that next step forward. So yes, by all means. And if you really have the inkling, do both. Study Buddhism and Stoicism. They both have beautiful advice for almost everything in life. And they correlate in a lot of ways. And the places where one covers the other, it just works. They work really well together. But pick one, because that one lesson of just how to let things be, not necessarily let them go, let them be, and you'll be better off in your life.
Both of those things have definitely, and I've dabbled, whereas you've delved.
Yeah.
I've dabbled, but even as a woman, I've found just a lot of peace and a lot of direction in the Stoicism, and then with Buddhism as well, because it's like, this is exactly what I need, because I don't need to fix, and I don't need to dwell, and I don't need to control. Right. Like, everything just is, and it's me that has a problem with it. So how do I just integrate myself into the world and let the world do what it does?
Right. The Buddhism, the universal energy stuff is beautiful, and I'll have a story for you at the end of this, because I had a very fun and interesting experience last night. And so we'll share that right at the end. The next thing for men, very vital, And a lot of married men let this go. And it's simply the tribe of men. You have to have a couple of buddies in your life, and you have to go out and spend time with them. I can't tell you how vital that is. It should be every married man should have a guy's night out once a month, maybe more frequently if they can. Um, Even if it's just a motorcycle ride together, or a camp trip, or a hunting trip. Um, there's something to be said about learning to bond that side, and it's very, I'm trying to think of a good word to say, because it's just very important to men to bond and coexist and talk, because there are things that we'll tell other men that we won't tell women, because we try to protect women and children from some of the crazy and insane stuff we do in our lives. And sometimes you need to hear in bro speak, hey dude, you're screwing up, you need to do this instead of that. So it's hard to fathom how I lived my life without a tribe. um I do now have a tribe. I have friends. I go out, I do things from time to time. um so yeah,
Do you feel like that's
absolutely.
important for your identity as well, just for the separation between the
Between me
husband
and
and the
spouse.
person? Yeah.
So I think that it would be if I had been married when I learned this lesson.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
I do think there needs to be a separate identity between a husband and wife, and I do think they need time apart and separate. Um, Girls' nights out, or her own little spa resort vacation, um, should absolutely be a thing, as well as the motorcycle rides and women seem to do it naturally. You go to the hair salon, and it's almost like that's enough for some women. Um, Men don't, and they need to change that somehow. So, I imagine a good barbershop where they'll let you sit and talk and jabber. That would probably be good if you don't have a tribe already. Um, but make a tribe. And with that advice comes the advice that I've heard a lot of places, which is you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most.
Mm.
Make sure those men you're hanging out with are quality men, that they are achieving the goals that you want to be achieving, or successful in an area where you want to be successful. And make sure you're adding to the group. Be successful in the areas you need to be successful in, so that you can help. It's amazing how much that probably would help people's lives. So, the next part, get to the gym. Yeah, I know I'm still a little round, um, but there's nothing that'll fix your confidence faster than increasing your 1 rep max in a lift, a deadlift, a bench press. As a man, that's, you hit a goal, and you can just keep measuring that goal and keep bumping it up until you have to work a little harder to do that. Um, it'll change your body shape. It'll change the way women react around you. Uh,
And it
and it,
changes the way you feel, right?
right. And it's kind of, it's funny that the way you feel will also affect the women around you. Um, so by all means, you should do that. Obviously, you don't want to be lonely forever. So, and it's funny because it's, the gym is a two-pronged thing. You do want to do it for yourself, absolutely. If you don't do it for yourself, your motives are not going to keep you going. But there is a second motive, and that is to be attractive. So, um, definitely do it for both reasons, because you don't want to be alone.
Yeah.
The next one's the power of hobbies. I can't tell you how much I enjoy my hobbies. I'm pretty sure that I would not be happy right now without my hobbies. So number one, I create malas and rosaries to give out to people. I don't give them, or I don't ask for any money. I just give them out. Somebody says, "Ooh, those are cool. I wish I had one." I just tell them to tell me their favorite color and make a new one and give it to them. It's amazing that what that does in my life. I've had a lot of interesting conversations with people over them. It's also the creative nature. And for beading, there's a little bit of a meditative experience. The counting of the beads, the uh, stringing of them, to look at them. And then I always take the chance to, I mean, I made this, I'm going to meditate with it. So I'll pull it out and I'll meditate with it, try to infuse it with some spiritual energy before I hand it off. I don't do that with the rosaries, but I do it with every mala. Painting. So the power of being alone. I go to a bi-weekly acrylic painting class by myself.
Sounds fun.
It is. It's a ton of fun. I'm horrible. Well, I won't
Yeah.
say I'm horrible. I'm not very good. I am definitely learning. Um, but it's funny how at the end of the day, people seem to come over and look at what I painted. And they're always amazed by it because I don't follow the rules. I always do something unique and creative with it. And I always have a good time. I'm always laughing. The waitress is always laughing at me. Um, it's just it's just a beautiful time I have, and it's funny how just one activity by myself, not by myself. I mean, I'm there in a class. There's other people, but I'm not accompanied. I'm not there with the. It's not a date night,
Mm.
and the power of being able to get out and just enjoy being myself and being creative and being those things is it's amazing. It's great. It's wonderful. I don't want to tell you.
I
So
love it.
if you're alone and you're single, go do something like that. Go learn how to dance. Go learn how to play an instrument, take a class or yoga or and don't worry about whether or not you've got someone accompanying you or not. Just go do it by yourself. And it doesn't even have to be that hard. You want to go out to dinner and eat? You don't have to have a lady. Just go eat and go enjoy the amazing food. Enjoy that experience in the moment. And it'll change your life. I promise, if you look at it that way. So, by all means, power of hobbies, find something to do. Keep yourself busy. Not too busy, just enough. So the last one I'm going to talk about is power of positive thinking. So this one has a story, and we're going to cover it for sure. But there's all kinds of books written on the power of manifestation. Of the power of manifestation, the power of understanding that what you want is already out there. You just have to feed the universe the energy to be worthy and receive it. Um, it's just amazing how that works with some people. Anyway, you there? Okay, we're good. So, um, taking the time to be charitable. like I do with my malas, like I do with some other things, to do things for no reward. Feeds the universe positive energy. Um, trying even just bringing people joy at no cost and not expecting it in return
Mm.
will add energy to the universe. So here's my story, and
Okay.
part of the reason that I look so tired today. So yesterday I realized that I have 1 week left on, it's called Zoosk, which is a dating app.
Hmm.
And so it's like, well, what am I going to do? I only got 1 week left. I'm not going to meet anybody. Let's just have some fun. I'm going to turn, because I was going to turn it off. It wasn't really, the tools don't justify it. Dating apps are a pain. So it's like, let's have some fun with this. I want to bring joy to people using this app. And anybody who knows me knows I love dad jokes. It's like
Me
a
too.
major part of my life. And so I went and found any cute woman on the site and wrote a dad joke.
Hmm.
And just, and I had a couple even respond. And of course, I was like, hey, it's last week my subscription. We can talk till it runs out, or you can go ahead and disconnect me if I'm not the kind of guy that you really, if you're just here because I'm funny. Um, so, and most of those girls stayed, by the way. None of them have really talked yet, but they stayed connected. Um, but Power Positive Energy on a different app, I had a woman contact me, and we spent all night talking,
Oh,
enjoying each other's
wow.
company.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So, like I said, unrelated, completely different app.
But same
Um,
energy, same universe.
yeah. And she's quite a bit of what I'm looking for.
Oh,
I haven't
wow.
I haven't met her yet, in person, but she's quite something over a text, and um, she's very beautiful. But yeah.
I just love that example. I love that story. You shifted your energy and you let go of an outcome and just
Right.
put out
Just
happiness and joy.
right. The whole purpose of it was happiness and joy. There was no, hey, I want
Hmm.
contact, or I want somebody to reach back and say, hey, I want to meet you. It was just let's have some fun. Let's make
Mm,
some people happy. And yeah, the universe gave back. So,
I love it. Love it. I love it.
so, and it's not always immediate like that. I will tell you that. I've seen the slow burn of the universe. Sometimes the tide comes up fast, sometimes it's very slow, but it always comes up.
Hmm. The ebb and flow of life.
Yeah. All
And the
right.
trick is being okay either way.
And that is, yep.
That's what I try to work on every day. And it's not linear. It's not a straight line.
No, it's even healing's not a straight line. There are times during the process where you'll feel, oh my gosh, I'm making progress. I feel so healed. And then a week later, or even a day later, you feel lower than you've ever load.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely a jagged line. What matters is it's the baby steps forward. It's the I'm doing the work and I am getting better. And over time you will succeed. You will overcome. And that I have no doubt about in almost any situation anymore. I believe that as long as you're taking a baby step in the right direction, you're doing good. And if the road gets blocked that way, take your baby step in a different direction. as long as you're moving forward.
Just don't stop moving.
Yeah, just don't stop moving.
And one day at a time. And if that's too much, 1 hour at a time. And if that's too much, let's revert back to the beginning where we said 20 seconds, 5 minutes, whatever it is, just to center yourself.
Yeah,
Because that's a big thing for me is I'm okay right now. Right now, I am a woman sitting in a chair. I'm not in danger. You know, the things that have happened or could happen are not happening. So
No.
I am just fine. And I totally identify with what you said because there are days that I feel so good and I'm so happy that I can't relate at all to like where I was at the week before. And then there are days where I'm so low I can't think of any reason to be happy. So
and that's when you get the list out.
yeah. So yeah, and the things that you shared for men totally apply. Like I do a gratitude list, and when I was working on self-love, I also had to look at the reasons why I love me, like the things that I actually like about myself. I had to do that because I really didn't feel a sense of worth unless I was getting it from someone else or someone specific.
Yeah.
And I don't tie my self-love or my self-worth to others' opinions anymore.
Yep. And did you hear that, guys? That applies to you too.
Yes, that applies to women, to men, to single people, to married people. Because I do love the fact that you shared like specifically what to do,
Right.
like your specific toolkit, because it's a good toolkit.
Yeah, it is.
Not just a vague description. What is your morning ritual look like to start your day?
So, just like most guys, I wake up, I go to the bathroom, I come back. Usually it's a sit down, meditate. I'm usually about 15 to 20 minutes right now. Get up, go make my coffee, pet my dog for a little bit, let him out. And once we're all back in the house, the phone's off and I'm just focusing on what the day should look like. Now, again, what the day should look
Yeah.
like. Understand that nothing is permanent. Your plans should not be. But having that, yeah, an idea of what you're gonna do, and then of course, then I get the kids up and then I start that stuff. Usually about this time, which is after the kids have been dropped off. Head up to the gym, work out, come home, shower, get changed, dressed up. Men dress up. You could live your life in t-shirt and jeans, and there's nothing wrong with that. But unless you're planning to go out and get dirty and work hard and get sweaty, take time to put a collared shirt on. It's amazing how much that one little thing will change. You can still wear your jeans, but throw on a collared shirt. Make yourself feel just a little nicer. Anyway, get dressed, and that's pretty much my morning. From there,
and the day does what it does.
Day was what it does.
Thank you so much for over. So thank you so much for being so vulnerable and so open about what you went through, because you and I have discussed like there's just not a lot of people talk about men's growth and men's healing and men's experience, but men are going through this every day and they're struggling and suffering in silence.
Right. And they are.
And there's just not, people aren't directing their focus to the men's experience and men's wellness and men's hearts and minds and spirits. And I love that you embody all those things, and we're related, so I have direct access to
yeah, I'll be lurking in your Facebook page so that any man who asks questions can get a man's perspective.
I appreciate that very much because yeah, I can give my experience and that has absolutely nothing to do with what with what y'all are going through unless it happens to be in recovery, then, you know.
Yeah.
So this was so special and I appreciate you so much and I hope we can do this again.
Yeah. I am
A
enjoying
version.
it. So a version of this. Not let's not rehash this part.
No, no,
Let's
no. I would like to check in like 3 to 6 months from now and see where we're at.
let's go 6.
Okay, it's a deal. All right. Anything else you want to add?
No, I'm
That was so
good.
much. Okay.